Thank you. Thank you. Got it here. So I won't be able to call the meeting to order to begin with. I will do roll call. And so let's see. Nikki is here and Bob is not here. And Crystal is not here. And Brad is here. And let's see, who have I not? Yeah, Carol is not here. Yeah, so, right. So we have only 4 present, only 3 present. Announcements. First announcement is that planning has sent out in their meeting packet a request for membership interest in joining the action committee. I think that's important. Last month, there were only 2 applications that planning had received. That may, of course, have increased in that we have been actively, and especially planning has actively been searching for members here. There was a notice in the Hāmākua Times asking for interest in membership of the committee. And so I think the message is out there. Whether people are receiving the message or not, I don't know. Also, there was another announcement in that the action committee is seeking a volunteer for the position, and it's not really a position, of secretary for our work. Someone to record and transcribe the minutes of our meeting. And that also went out in the meeting packet to the public. April Supernaut, the long-range planning director, had asked that I would ask those present at tonight's meeting if there was any interest in taking on the job of transcribing the minutes of the meeting and perhaps other functionality that might go along with that. If there would be a volunteer from the public, that would, I think, be of advantage for the members of the committee to not have to spend their energy and time doing that. I want to compliment Nikki because her minutes have been exemplary over the last number of months that she's been taking on that challenge. So we very much appreciate Nikki's work on that. So to begin this, whether it's a meeting or not, I'd like to ask if there's any testimony from the public, or if there's any testimony on any agenda items from the public. Seeing no testimony on agenda items or comment on agenda items from the public, we will move on to a update from Heather Kimball. Heather, thank you. Thank you for joining our meeting. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Nice to see everybody here on Zoom. I'm going to be kind of bouncing all over the place, so please forgive me, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had a lot of the latest information on various topics. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the impact of the 2 Kona low storms on our community. Just wanted to let you know that we've been doing some work sessions with both Hawaii Electric as well as the telecom providers to figure out ways to do a little bit better as far as response and response times. Although, you know, they did really a great job after the first Kona low right there before Christmas, getting things back, getting the lights on the Christmas trees before the actual holiday. So a couple of things that you can anticipate, at least with Hawaiian Electric, is that they've done some reinforcement of their telephone system. So one of the things that happened during the Kona low was that they the telephones calls that when people were trying to report that their power was out was not getting picked up, but it wasn't going to a recording where you could leave a message. They have since fixed that problem, so you can still call their number if you've got the power outage, and it should actually either go to a recording or be picked up by a real person now. Another thing to know about anytime we have a storm or event like this where that you have property damage, Civil Defense will often have a link on their website where you can report that damage. The reason that this is important is that if we hit a certain threshold with personal property damage, then we are eligible for FEMA funding in response to an emergency. That threshold is pretty high, so we don't often hit it, but if we do hit it, you're only eligible for reimbursement for those damages or I shouldn't say it's just property damage, it's damages or expenses related to the storm or emergency. You will only be eligible for potential reimbursement from FEMA if you've actually submitted to Civil Defense that claim in advance. So make sure that if you've had anything going on, you know, one of the things that we had people report on with the last Kona low is that the Hāmākua ditch got all blocked up, and so people weren't getting water and we're having to pay quite a bit to bring water in for cattle and things like that. So those are the things that should be reported on the Civil Defense website when there's a disaster. I wanted to mention the vehicle tow program. So, you know, one of the issues that we have in our district is abandoned vehicles left around, sometimes on our properties. And I wanted to, you know, if you didn't know already, Environmental Management now has a program that will allow for a property owner to call in and have one car towed off their property per year, and then it's disposed of at the Hilo vehicle disposal site. And so right now, if you want it to, the county will pay for the disposal, but they don't pay for the towing. And that's a barrier for a lot of folks to take care of those abandoned vehicles. So this program will allow people to do one car per year off their property. It should begin in about 6 months. So keep your eye out for that. You'll be able to apply for the program through the Environmental Management website. Another program that's going on now is the we did successfully extricate animal control from HPD and create the police department, and now we have an actual animal control agency. One of the things that we think will help by creating an animal control agency is when animal control was under the police department, all of the animal control officer positions were contract positions. So they were, you know, 3 months, 6 months positions. For a lot of people, that sort of uncertainty and lack of benefits is not as much of a enticement to take those positions as a contract position, a civil service position, sorry, would be with the county. And so now that we have this new agency, all those animal control positions will be civil service positions. So there's some job security with them. There's the benefits of being a civil servant. So that we're hoping that will improve the staffing, which will overall improve the functioning of animal control. Animal control has been one of our most poorly staffed areas. We had 14 positions that were open and only 4 people in the animal control officer position. So that's part of the issue will be addressed with that. Just wanted to touch quickly on YPO. For now, it is just going to be continue to be status quo as far as the emergency order, which is that residents of the county of Hawaii can go down and on a vehicle, 4-wheel drive vehicle, still no pedestrians, and visitors allowed allowed to drive down in the valley. The work is ongoing with mostly at this point tree trimming, efforts to secure the potential hazards that are really imminent as far as rockfall. The long-term steering committee continues to meet. Kaylee E who's on the call here. Kaylee E is on that steering committee, as well as Brad is now participating as a representative of the action committee. So thank you for that, Brad. I wanted to talk about a couple of bills that are underway, some of them relating to agriculture. So one of the things that if you have your property, your home in the homeowners class, you get the homeowners tax rate, the homeowners exemption, which all of you hopefully noticed went up this year. And then you also get this 3% cap. And what the 3% cap means is that if market values in your area go up, the assessed value of your home can only go up 3% a year. And so, the longer that you're in your home, you tend not to see your assessed value and your market values tend to get further and further apart. One of the things that has been an issue, particularly in our district, is that folks that are in the dedicated ag program or non-dedicated ag program, well, they get reduced tax rates because they've dedicated their land to agriculture. They don't have any protection on their homes with that cap. And so this last year, when we saw 17%, 20% increases in home values, everybody, all those farmers out there where this is their home and their farm, they were not protected by that cap, and so they saw their home values go way up. So one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to add the cap to agricultural properties when it's the primary resident of the farmer. And that will, we can't go back in time, unfortunately, but at least for the future, they will have that protection. Now, I can imagine what you would be concerned about, or what I'm concerned about, what the council is concerned about, providing that benefit, because these guys already get a tax benefit, like I said, on the land, and now we're adding this other benefit. The main concern is that the farmers are actually farmers, and they're actually doing agriculture, and they're not gentleman farmers or fake farms. And so we have another pair of bills coming through that actually we see a fair bit of abuse, particularly in Hāmākua, of the non-dedicated ag program, where people basically tell the county is for tax purpose they're doing agriculture, and they're really not. And so we're working on requiring some documentation to show that you're actually engaged in agriculture, or you're actually contributing to the food systems. Like, that's important for our community to ensure that we have food security. So if you're producing food for sale or donation, then you get a little bit of a tax benefit. You'll be under these programs, you'll get that protection. If you're doing large scale commercial agriculture, you're doing slow rotation forestry, you're doing pasturing, all those sorts of things, we will give you both the tax benefit for the value of the land and that 3% cap. So a little complicated, but that's, property tax, that's one of our tools for incentivizing particular behavior. And for us as the council right now, we want to protect ag land, keep it in agriculture, and we also want to protect our farmers and make sure that they are not losing their homes because of speculation in the market in the surrounding areas. The other big piece of legislation that's in progress is a short-term vacation rental bill. I think I mentioned this the last time that I talked to you folks. We are in the process of developing draft 4. If I didn't share it with you last time, we have a website that has information about the bill. It's at hawaiicountytar.com, and so you can go there and see draft 3. We also have a page with frequently asked questions. A couple of the things that we're looking at in draft 4 is a self-certification of the safety of the transient accommodation by the owner to make sure they have things like fire extinguishers, carbon monoxide detectors, methods of egress, things like that, as well as making sure that they are in compliance with code if they don't actually have a building permit, because we understand that that's going to be a challenge for some folks. And then the other thing that we're looking at there is a tax amnesty. A lot of people didn't realize that those exemptions that I had mentioned before that you get as a homeowner, as soon as you start renting any part of your property as a short-term vacation rental, you lose those benefits and you are knocked into a different tax class. The only benefit you do keep is actually the homeowner's exemption. Wanted to mention the mayor's veto of Bill 194. Bill 194 is a bill proposed by Councilmember Inaba, which would remove the ability of the council to add, when we get rezoning ordinances, we can put in language that will allow the planning director to extend the deadline, or to basically extend the deadline. So you go in, you do a rezoning ordinance and subdivision for a parcel, and you say it's going to take you get 20 years to meet the condition of the rezoning ordinance. Well, 20 years go by, you don't do anything of the property. An administrative extension means that you don't have to come back to the council. The planning director can just say, okay, well, we're going to give you a little more time. That passed what passed through the council was that we were taking out that provision to allow for a clause that allows for an administrative extension, and we're saying that all rezoning ordinances have to come back for review by resolution. So it's not the whole process that typically is involved in a rezoning ordinances. It's just a resolution to say that this is still appropriate for the area. Now, the mayor, this was passed 6-3. The mayor vetoed it, so it'll be coming back onto our agenda next week. Sorry, second week of May, or second council meeting of May, which I think is the 19th. I think that the issue that arises is that you employ this political process that on rezoning and subdivision, that's at least the administration's argument. And my counter argument is actually that the political process is important. Political isn't a bad word. Political means that you have the opportunity for public discourse, you have the opportunity for public hearings, and you have the opportunity to create transparency. And while it is true that the council already has the option to exclude this provision for an automatic time extension, we've had some discussions with our corporation council about how much we can actually modify a rezoning ordinance when it comes to us, and I'm not sure that they would let us discuss that. So I think it's an important provision, and the argument that it's going to impact affordable housing. I think we have to be really concerned about the weaponization of affordable housing, and say that anytime we want regulation or oversight or engagement of the public in decision making, it's going to be a barrier to development of affordable housing. That's not true. The primary barrier is that it costs so darn much to build stuff here. So I know this is a lot. I have one more thing to touch on, which is the funding that the council has put towards homelessness and homelessness services. We just recently approved $7.5 million in budgeting for homeless services, and that includes wraparound services like counseling and back to work programs and drug treatment, things like that, but also actual development of housing. I know that it's not as big of an issue in Hāmākua as it is in some of the other areas, although we are starting to see more reports of folks living in the bushes and whatnot in Hāmākua. So really looking forward to seeing how the Office of Housing is able to leverage this this money, this huge investment that the council has put out to help address the challenges for our hopeless or the hopeless homeless or houseless neighbors and friends. You know, these are people too, and you know, sometimes you're just a square peg that doesn't fit in a round hole, and you know, we need to support all of our brothers and sisters out there. So that is my wide-sweeping, wide-ranging update on things going in the county. Happy to answer any questions you folks have about what's going on.
Heather, thank you again. As always, your updates have been terribly important, and I think I can speak for everyone here that we all admire the work you've been doing there at County Council. So thank you over and over. So I would like to, first of all, ask if there are members of the public that have questions that they would like to ask or comments. We'd like to confine the comments and questions to not much more than 3 minutes. So if there's anyone, please raise your hand or let us know. Corey Harden.
Yeah, I just want to ask Heather, thanks for talking about Bill 194. I think it's really important as far as giving the public a say in how long people get to, how long time they get to do their development. Anyway, 2 things. I think it's coming up April 19, not May 19.
That's correct. You are correct, Corey. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a long budget day.
You got everything else right. Let's see. And it's going to take 6 council votes out of 9 to override the mayor's veto. So I encourage people to contact their council people, all the council people, to support this very important bill to give the public a say in how long it takes to get a development done.
Thank you, Corey. Are there any other questions or comments to be addressed to Heather? Peyton?
Aloha, Heather. Thank you. I'm curious, as I'm trying to figure out the best strategy to form a community group to work on the PONC purchases in the Hāmākua area. And it was my impression that you had presented to the CDP group something about how to go about that in the correct manner, like what way the community should interact with the CDP group, which would be the proper structure for what the community and the CDP group in doing these CDP purchases or PONC purchases. So that's my
Yeah, thanks, Peyton. And I may not get this right in terms. I think I understand what you're asking, but I may not have it entirely right. So you know, the action committee as a county committee, of course, is guided by sunshine law. So you have a couple of different options about how you engage in any kind of project that would be specific to researching and exploring a certain idea or concept. You know, the first one is to just create an informal working group with any members of the community that you think have interest. But then you can only have 2 members of the action committee participating in that working group. And then it's up to you, like how you would assign those members and whatnot. The other option is to form a permitted interaction group, in which case you could have anything less than a quorum. So I think a quorum for you guys is 5, right? So it would be up to 4 members could participate in this permitted interaction group. The benefit of a permitted interaction group is you can have more participation of members. You can also include community members in a permitted interaction group. It doesn't just have to be AC members. One of the disadvantages is that, well, the permitted interaction group is doing their work. So in this case, it's investigating purchases for the PONC process. then you want to, then the AC as a whole cannot actually discuss that topic. So you just want to be thoughtful when you create a permitted interaction group, because basically the board is saying, hey, this group is assigned to investigate that topic, and you're taking that kuleana away from the board as a whole. So that's just one of the things that you have to be cautious of. Certainly, want to think about the relationship between the PONC committee, the commission. So Deborah, what's her name? Deborah.
Chang.
Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, long day. Deborah is Hāmākua's representative, District 1's representative on the PONC commission, and she is wonderful. I mean, I think it would be fabulous if you guys had her present to the AC and kind of talk about, she can kind of walk you through the process about like how something gets nominated to be considered by the PONC commission, all of that. As a nonprofit organization that seeks to be a steward of a PONC property or public open space property, they can be the nominating body, but they can also be an applicant to do the stewardship on a PONC parcel that has already been purchased. So the nominations for PONC properties has already taken place for this year. The PONC commission is actually going out and reviewing those parcels at this time. I believe, I don't know if there's somebody from planning on board that knows the answer to this. I want to say that the stewardship applications are like sometime in the fall, maybe like September, something like that. And those get reviewed and issued around the end of the year. So, there's two different things there. There's the actual acquisition of PONC properties, and then there's the applications to be stewardship. So I hope that, Phaeton, if I didn't answer your question in the way that you were expecting, and I didn't understand your question correctly, please let me know if that's okay.
No, that helps a lot. That helps a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
The link to the one presentation they did, it was on.
Thank you, Heather. That was excellent, as usual. Are there any other questions from the persons here at the physical site, or anyone on Zoom who would like to ask questions of Heather? Well, thank you, Heather. We very much appreciate your coming by, and we all appreciate what you're doing for Hāmākua. So thank you.
I appreciate all of you guys, of course, all of you participating on the action committee, and then of course, community members that weigh in and participate in this part of our government process. Really appreciate you too. So thank you for being here tonight and inviting me to come and talk. And you guys know where to find me. So if there's anything else I didn't answer, you're too shy to ask right now, feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. So have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a presentation by Indy Singh. And Indy, would you like to proceed?
Yeah, thank you, Ton. Courtney, is it possible to pin my video? Or yeah, whatever that thing is, whatever that button is. Pin it? Is it pin it? For everyone? Spotlight, that's the thing. Thanks, Courtney. Okay, so we're gonna, I feel it's really important before we even start this conversation that we take a moment to acknowledge the land that we're on, and then, all of the different generations of people that have cultivated the land, from the Hawaiians to the animals, to the microorganisms, to the birds, I mean, everything, the plants, the fungi, everything. But also in that same breath, let's acknowledge all the different types of people that have come to cultivate this land, that came from other places around the world, that continue to come from places around the world to take care of the land and to love it and to appreciate it. Let's acknowledge them for a moment and just pay our respects and honor them, and that continues to happen, that cultivation of the land. Let's also, that being said, Thank you to them. Thank you to the county staff right here. We got Courtney and we got so many people, and we have these AC members that are showing up. Some volunteers, some are working. Thank you to everybody who shows up to make these meetings possible. Thank you to all of you for showing up and being present in this conversation and showing up in such a meaningful way, wanting to care about the community in a meaningful way. Yeah, I feel it's so important that we pay a little bit of gratitude for that, but also maybe even gratitude for what happens from here. That I hope that whatever the conversation we have now and the cultivation of this conversation moves forward, not just to our community, but to our descendants' communities. I've been recently, a mentor dropped some knowledge on me about the idea of Keoki and Malia, that we should be doing things for our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren. So how can we make decisions now that affect people generations forward? And so that's the intention with this conversation. And so with that being said, I'm gonna jump into the presentation. And you can see over here, some of you guys are on, some of you guys are physically there, which is great. And thank you so much for showing up physically at the People's Theater, which I love. And I will see you guys there soon when we get the opportunity to meet there again. But since this is virtual and we have so many people here virtually as well, please in the chat, answer this question for me. Who needs our support the most? Who needs our support the most so the community can thrive? Just that question. Drop your answers in the chat. You know, what do you feel? Who needs our support the most for the community to thrive? Just that's something for us to think about, for us to feel about. You know, what kinds of people do we need to have thrive? What kind of people do we need in our community? We need them to be healthy. We need them to be taken care of, right? Whether that's financially, whether that's housing, whether that's whatever. What kind of people do we need in the community to help our whole community thrive? And so, oh my God, we got an answer right there. Diana puts nurses. Oh my gosh, yes, nurses is awesome. You know, that's super important. I mean, who literally takes care of us when we're in the hospital? Who's like the most important caregiver? Actually, the one who's hands-on, the one that's actually administering the drugs. Not even the doctor does that. Most often it's the nurses. I went to medical school. I'll tell you what, I didn't learn anything that nurses do. Nurses have to be so hands-on, they have to clean things, they have to do all the things the dirty things that nobody wants to do, all the poop and all that stuff. The nurses are important. Local farmers. Thank you, Mia. Yes, local farmers are super important because who's going to feed us? In fact, we're finding out so much more and more that food directly affects our health, right? So the food that we eat, the type of soil health that food comes from affects our gut microbiome, which then affects our immune system. So if we're really concerned about a public health crisis, then we have to really support local farmers and create more local food, because that's going to improve our immune systems, help in a public health kind of way. So it's actually critically important that we support local farmers, because it affects public health, let alone economy and all these other things. But I think the health of our children, the health of our elders, the health of all of us is super important. Is that it? Are those only people that you guys think is important? All right, well, I'm going to keep this thing moving over here. Well, oh, we said teachers. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to shift over here and you guys see this beautiful little graphic that we created. And the intention, for this conversation right here is to really tune in deeply to this idea that how can we create centralized places, right? I say places because it's not one place. Can we make many of these, right? That address a really important CDP concept, which is on 6.6. I'm holding up the CDP plan. It's like a huge stack of papers, right? 6.6 community action number 54 ... 12 you guys know how it goes with bureaucracy, but that's the main thing, right? 6.6 community action 54 literally says promote the collaborative development, use, and management of community gardens in towns and neighborhoods. Now, there's a whole stack of more paper here, right? And I went through it and I actually took a bunch of I did a little green, you can't see it, right? I put Post-its in there. And these three people in our communities can be all three of these can be supported with the conception and the creation of community gardens. Now, in some communities, community gardens are actually also called urban farms, right? Because in urban areas, they're literally are farms if they're small. But some of these small places, literally not even an acre, less than an acre, are able to feed a whole community, because you can grow a lot once they're moving sun and water and nitrogen and carbon, all this other stuff through the space, right? If it's being done efficiently, it can grow a lot of food. And we're in Hāmākua, like Hāmākua, oh my gosh, we could be making food for the whole island, let alone for the Hāmākua coast. So I dropped this visual here too, because I also wanted everybody to kind of get an idea that when we talk about the nurses, the healers in the community, it's not just the nurses. There's the doctors, there's the nurses, there's the indigenous native healers, there's the therapists, right? We got to support all of them for us to thrive, right? And then you go up here to the farmers. It's not just the farmers, you have the gardeners, because you don't always have to have farmers, you can have gardeners. You have the natural scientists, right? And then you have the students of nature, right? There's people who love nature. They don't necessarily want to go crazy with the farming and gardening, but they do want to show up once in a while in service of nature, understanding nature, or maybe they're students at a school, or they're elementary kids too, right? They're students of nature, but also an elder that is interested in it can be a student of nature. And then we got over here, I got this little like cool little visual of the apple with the little halo on top of it. And we have the educators, the teachers, but they don't just come in one form, right? There's the mentors, the sports coaches, the social emotional coaches, right? There's so many different types of educators that we need to have so that our community can thrive. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of really quickly just summarize really quick. This conversation is also really important to cultivate something. I mean, what was the word? A permitted interaction group, right? So if we are going to maybe do these things, or maybe they don't have to be official, maybe they can be official, maybe they don't have to be official. But the point is to create these spaces where we're meeting in person, and we're having discussions and cultivating discussions around actions we could take in the community, like actual actions, not waiting until 2024 or 2025 or waiting for a permit to do this, actually taking bold, courageous actions, urgent action for the needs that are urgent in our communities, right? Especially when it comes to healthcare, education, and food. These are like really urgent things that our community needs. So this was a civic action rally that we had in Puna CDP. If some of you guys were there, if some of you showed up at that thing, maybe drop in the chat. How did it feel? How did it feel to have a political meeting like that? Because it was political. We talked about resources. I mean, over here you have a picture of Ashley, Councilor Ashley. You see the back of her head. She's listening to an uncle, a elder, a Hawaiian elder speaking right there. So we had this cross-cultural communication of what we could do with our resources and support each other. So you could see the American government meeting with somebody who's from the Hawaiian government, right, in real time, and talking about ideas and solutions, right? And we had a really beautiful meeting out at a Seaview lawn. Okay, this is the Puna CDP. So we learned a lot. We had all these different circles. People came up, heartstormed, all this stuff. Then we had another civic action that Ton came to. That was awesome. And actually Councilwoman Heather came to as well. And it was amazing. We had some discussion. We had more further discussions about healthcare, education, farming, broke out into working circles, came back together, shared, and more synthesized. There was more crystallization of like, so there's two things here. We got this one, we got this one. Okay, we're like learning a lot. And then I went to this event, Kohala Ag Visioning event, actually. And at this event, this was actually created by the Kohala Ag Vision Committee, and learned a lot about that too. Actually listened in, they actually had a cool presentation about the timeline and the history of the Hawaii Islands. And it was amazing to learn about like how the different the corporations came through and the families, and how they kind of disturbed or supported or did kind of weird stuff all around the island. We learned a lot through that place. And there was also Hawaiian ceremony, Hawaiian prayer. There was food given out to the community. I mean, it was wonderful to also sit and learn more. What does the community need? What does it need? And when it comes down to it, when we boil it down, when we boil all of it down, when I went to these 3 events and really crystallized and synthesized everything that was there, it was this takeaway. Our takeaway was having accessible community gardens that are education and well-being hubs, right? That Hawaii County supports. Yes, we could do this privately, and that's totally fine. But if the county supports this in an urgent way, right? In an urgent way that maybe we can move resolutions faster, because the concerns and the issues that we have are really, really important. But this thing is really important. When I say it again, accessible to all, everybody who needs it, right? Not just those who have the privilege of living in a community that can create a community garden. No, it's like this should be at the schools that children are going to. This could be at the elder senior centers that people are at. It's interesting too. As I shared this accessible thing, I learned just a couple of weeks ago, I came across a senior housing facility out near in Honomu, right near the not Honomu, what's the other place? I can't even say it properly, but there's a bakery there and the coffee shop, and there's a senior housing place. The seniors were all getting reprimanded for, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like, they were growing vegetables and fruits in front of their homes. Seniors, okay, senior housing, and the landscapers complained to this county, and then they were giving them eviction notices for growing tomatoes in front of their yard. I mean, this is crazy to evict seniors. And the county wasn't, I mean, nobody's done anything to support these seniors, right, up until now. But I'm thinking, when I sat with the seniors, I actually had a conversation with them, 3 of them, they were like, we just want to grow food. We just want, it feels good for us to grow, and they're not allowed to in this senior housing. Yet the county is giving money to the senior housing, this complex, this corporation that is getting money from the county is preventing people from gardening. So just think about the opposite side of that, is what if the county provided funds to a housing community that was providing a garden for the community, where the elders can come and share their knowledge and get in the soil, where the children can also come and play and learn from the elders, right? This is very much doable because these places are actually getting our public money right now. They're getting public money right now to reprimand and punish seniors and elders to not garden. Like, so when I say accessible, I mean accessible, right? At this moment right now. And I want to also share this concept right here, which was the East Hawaii Organics Facility, which I love going to every month. They have a free day. It's awesome to get my hands in the soil and help out other people, because it's so fun where everybody's filling up their trucks with the mulch, right? And this is a project that was created, actually just created out of the willpower of the people, that has now become a full-out operation that is creating mulch and distributing it throughout the island to farmers, local farmers, people who are interested in farming, just starting. People are sharing seeds. I was there, people are sharing seeds. It was so fun to like be engaged in that kind of community activity together. But this now is supported by the county, right? It started off as just people wanting to do something, and now the county is supporting it. Now the state of Hawaii is supporting it, and it might have even more support as there's more initiatives to support agriculture, right? And especially natural and organic agriculture. So I'm going to kind of curb this question. Thank you, Papa Aloha, right? So I'm going to curb this question to this, right? And we don't have Heather here anymore, which is kind of a disappointment. She said she would be here an hour. I was hoping she would stick around for this conversation because we could have gotten her input, but hopefully this is something that we can continue having. And she came to the gathering that we had in Hakalau. So if we have these gatherings at not just gardens, but we have them on farms, like local community farms, we have them at local community homes where people want to cultivate this kind of aloha in the community. But what we need to start asking is, how can the County of Hawaii support community healing gardens, right? And so let me put that in the chat for you guys. Drop it in the chat. How do you imagine the county supporting community healing gardens? Because this is the county right here. I mean, they're recording this. This is going to go up on a county server. It's going to go up on the YouTube. I hope so, right? And it's going in the minutes, no matter what. So what does the community feel that the county should do to support these community healing gardens? Community healing gardens where nurses can be supported, where educators can be supported, where farmers can be supported, because the farmers can teach people how to farm the proper way. And actually, one of the things on this table of contents also is teaching local agriculture and agricultural folks how to do agriculture the right way, how to do it with the right way, with the right relationship with the land, right relationship with the people, right relationship with the water and the air, right? So that all can be happening at these community healing gardens. It can also be supportive to how we education around water management, around energy, around food, right? Sustainability, all these things. But as you guys are answering this question in the chat, I'm going to drop one more thing in here. I'm going to share, this is an article from just a few weeks ago, talking about the food insecurity that's rising in Hawaii for keiki and kupuna, right? And so this is happening in real time right now, everybody. This is an urgent issue. It's not going to get better. Just FYI, it's not going to get better unless we take willful action, right? We need to take willful action, and we can't wait for the county to do it. But if the county can support us, amazing, right? But we also need to start gathering and moving towards creating food security. And that word is even so yucky, food security. We're in Hawaii. We're actually on the Hilo side. We're on the Hāmākua coast. Food security, that should be the opposite of what we should be worried about. We should be giving away food all across the island and the islands. That's how abundant this place is. I've been on private farms. There's a lot of food growing everywhere. It's like an abundance, right? It's just about finding a place where people can actually share and creating the place where sharing and the gift economy, the traditional ways of the Hawaiian people can be brought back to life, the cultural traditions of sharing and giving first, rather than taking and then asking for money and owing. So we got somebody to drop something in the chat right here. Audit county owned lots of land that are vacant and not being used and return the land to community to cultivate. Thank you. Actually, Deanna, that's crazy because in Albany, in California, there was a land back that happened with UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley owned a bunch of land and a community gathered actually, and UC Berkeley gave that land to the community, the Ohlone Ohlone indigenous folks and the people who were working there. And now they grow food and they have a free farmers market and they hand out food to the community and to their community. And they still have a private space where they have their ceremonies as well. So that's something that's happened in just a few years ago, right? Where literally county and city land was given, even private land was given to do this kind of work. So that's definitely one thing. Real Track Farm, that's it. Thank you. Counties support people to advise folks trying to grow food. Very hard to get advice right now. Thank you. Yeah, for us creating this meeting space, a physical gathering space where we can start to do knowledge sharing. That's incredibly powerful, right? Especially for our community, because if we can grow more food, then that can also end up supporting these keiki and kupuna that are struggling with food security, right? But if I go up, I can go in many directions. I can go anywhere, and I can share with you the statistics and the data about how not only are we food insecure, but we're actually making bad decisions on how to secure our food. So creating these gathering spaces, these community healing spaces is going to be really important. But before this conversation continues, and we ask some questions, we go into that space, I want to impress this idea that we are going to continue doing these meetings, right? These meetings that I shared with you where we're meeting in person, we're meeting in parks, we're meeting on farms. And that's, in my opinion, these places are where we're going to actually actuate the ideas that we care about. It's not going to be in this forum, which is very patriarchal, or maybe it's very supremacist, right? It's very control oriented, right? We're not going to get to a mycelial collective space where the children are taken care of, where women are taken care of, where our nurses and our teachers and our healers are taken care of, and our farmers are that's not going to happen in this space. It's going to happen by showing up in public spaces where we all meet together, we talk, we share food, we break bread, and we also share our ideas and we share our hopes and visions. And some of us are really good at putting that together and taking it to the next step. And that's how we're going to get there. So I hope if you guys want to cultivate that and show up at these meetings that we continue to have, please share your email in the chat so that we can keep this thing going. So share your email. We can let you know when the next meeting is going to be, if it's going to be in Hāmākua, in Kohala, if it's going to be in Puna, wherever it is. We'll let you know when it is, where it is, and we hope to have you there and share your ideas and bring your concepts and ideas. Okay, so I can keep talking. I got a lot of notes here. I got a lot of notes in this CDP packet too. But
Thank you, Andy.
questions or
that was
anything?
great. I think we all feel the same way. That is such an important message. Thank you for bringing that to us in such a dynamic way. We're all appreciative. And yes, please let us know as these meetings materialize. I hope that we do get email contacts for you. Are there questions? Yes, Phaeton.
Aloha, Indy. Thank you so
Aloha.
much for that wonderful presentation. Man, your energy is infectious. It's awesome. Right on. And you're already out there doing it. I got to attend one of your events already, and I'm seeing you. I'm just wondering, when you say we, like, what organization, or what is this under? Like, is it just a community group, or are you part of an organization, or what is like?
Does the Aina count?
Oh yeah. so just as a you're just volunteering as part of the general public right now, and just trying to connect dots of who in the community. There's no organization, but
yeah, no, there's two sides to this. No, there's no organization behind this, but I do understand the value of having nonprofits and for-profits and building around those things. So that is all those things are available. So if we do need to create some private to public relationships or nonprofit relationships, those are all available. Those are all in my wheelhouse, whether I'm involved with a nonprofit that can serve in that or whatever. But this right now, where we actually are calling everybody in, right? Because there's folks who are on this meeting right now that might be affiliated with organizations. I'm in the Rotary. I'm not calling in the Rotary right now, but I could call in the Rotary. So that's one thing there's already, I know some of the people who are in the chat right there, and I know they're amazingly connected and well connected too. So we could definitely resource the wonderful amount of energy that we have here.
And then your next meeting, are you thinking like in the next month, or when are you thinking for your meeting?
The physical gathering is going to be,
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be 1 or 2 in May.
May, okay.
Thank you, Indy. And be sure to return, and particularly at some point, you may want to ask us to help with the project that you might have. And hopefully we will be able to find some way that we might be able to participate in your vision. It's a great vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ton. Actually, I got a question on that one too. Would it be possible for me almost to be like think of it like a newscaster with an update? You know, the sports update. If I could come in every month and give an update of what's happening with these community healing gardens, what's the update happening with the community as people are reaching out and we're having more communication. And I haven't even gotten to speak to Brad, and I would love to learn more about Brad and his relation with schools and how we could support children to connect with farming and gardening. So is that possible? Would I be able to come every month and share something small?
You know, it depends on what our agenda is like. But of course, we all think that what you're trying to do here is important. And so we'd like to support it however we could. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Deanna, you got a question?
Are there other questions?
Yeah, thanks, Indy. That was such a great presentation. It was very inspiring, exciting, and also interesting. I'm reading Uncle Kalani's comment in the chat, and he always has so much wisdom to share with us. Thank you, Uncle Kalani, for being here. I am a little also disappointed that Heather left, because she actually also left the civic engagement meeting early and didn't actually really get a chance to even hear what community members wanted to, like, were speaking about and what we came to as a collective. And so I'm wondering, you know, Nikki and Ton, your guys' thoughts about, like, is there a better way to engage these council people where we can have their attention and they can actually like be present? Because it seems like the couple times we've tried to engage, you know, she leaves early, and it's just really disappointing. It doesn't really seem like they want to hear from the community members. I'm just curious if there's other ways to go about this. And then I guess secondly, just Faitana, just to kind of answer your question in terms of organizations supporting these initiatives, my nonprofit, which is an organization that's focused on supporting nurses, doctors, therapists, social workers, and healers of all sorts with burnout, we are 100% supporting these initiatives and these projects that Indy's doing, and we would be so grateful to be supported by the county to be in the space and have gatherings to support nurses, because as we all know, providers leaving the island is a huge issue right now. So doctors, nurses are leaving in droves. They just can't afford to stay here. So anyway, there is an organization backing this, cultivatingself.org. Please check it out. But we are supporting these initiatives, and we hope that more people will get involved. So thank you all. Thank you to the staff for being here.
Thank you. You know, our mission, as described in the community development plan, is to support those images which are embodied in that plan. And the manner in which we support them, I think, is really something that is going to be of discussion in upcoming months. But certainly we see, we would like to support the vision that you presented here, and as we are able and are in communication with Heather, we will try to pass on some elements of the communication that you've given to us. Heather is extremely open. I've found her to be very receptive to communications from the community. And so in spite of the fact that she's super busy, as we all know, I'm sure she would welcome you communicating directly. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Discussion of the presentation of the permitted interaction groups. Can't do that. Yeah. We have a presentation on public access, open space, and natural resources. Phaeton, would you like to make that presentation?
Wasn't able to share screen on the computer. By any chance, do you have that list of the proposed properties from 2006 and 7?
Yeah, it was on the meeting packet. Let's see.
Yes, exactly. Oh, so and now we have Zoom and share screen. Oh, share screen. Nope. Pardon. Nikki, would you know how this works? It's right here. I'm just trying to get that. Yeah, share screen.
So you're gonna wanna pick the window you want,
I think it's
that one,
this one.
Safari. Just
Okay.
then when you press share, it'll put us on the side, yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanna, it's fine, it's not, they can see everything that's behind it, like all this, but it's
That's
actually
fine. That's fine. Yeah. Aloha, friends. I'm Phaeton Keeney. We had a meeting here about 2 weeks ago where Tony Withington of North Kohala presented about the public open space purchases and accomplishments of that community, and shared the strategy and visioning process that got people engaged with preserving the coastal access and lands in their area, and kind of got us inspired to do the same here. And in that meeting, one of the representatives of the public open space committee shared that yes, there were, so we we're excited to form and get started. And then in that meeting, we learned there was a whole list of already proposed properties that could be engaged with in the Hāmākua area. And that was really exciting to see so many of the areas that we were already sort of talking about in the meeting already on people's agenda from 2006, 2007 forward, and not much has happened since then. There was a purchase of the Waipio rice property that happened and is now preserved for public open space and is being stewarded by a community group here in the area. And there is also currently a community group down in South Hilo that is working on areas in Pepekeo, two large parcels there below the near the Huhonua proposed project site. The coastline there, there's I believe a 20-acre parcel and a 40-acre parcel approximately. We are excited to connect with those folks and support what they're doing, but also just in general, gather community around these original ideas and get engaged on thinking about and going for the next year's submission and public open space purchase, which begins in January, submission in January of 2023. So we have some time. Toni Withington happens to be my mother-in-law, so I was able to get her nonprofit formation structure and kind of advice on how to move forward. And so we've got some of that together, and just inviting community, if you're interested in looking at the process and moving forward for this for Hāmākua, just I would love to connect and try to see how we can prioritize our efforts together. So that's that. Yeah. And so wondering, is there any
Your group, separate group, like a separate organization?
just currently just the people who came to the meeting from the Tony's presentation here, and anyone else who would want to join. We've reached out and talked to Blake McNaughton, who is leading the Pepe Keo pump purchases, I believe, and also Jackson Bauer, who works with the Na'alahele trails through the DLNR, and just trying to find any other folks who might be interested in the process. So just currently just reaching out. We don't have a formal group yet, a name, but just seeing who might be interested. So
Could I-
then the Island Hele, the Circle Island Trail.
Oh, yes, right.
And
Yes, I also believe that we earlier today tested out the audio. I think probably they heard that. Phaeton, could I say just a word? I think the important thing about Phaeton's bringing this subject matter here is that I've spoken with Heather about this at some length, and she originally back maybe a year ago had included in the several suggestions that she had for formation of committees a committee on open space and access and trails. And these days, actually, PONC has been working toward including trails in their acquisitions and easements. And so at any rate, I think the important message from Heather, and one that I'd like to emphasize, is that we would like suggestions from the action committee as to individuals in their areas. Perhaps Phaeton and I might know many of the people here in the Hāmākua area who have been focused on access issues and trails, but we don't have much of a knowledge of folks on down toward Pepe Keo, Papaiko, etc., even Lapahoipai. So we're going to need the help of the Action Committee members in trying to form a group, a community group, that would be involved in looking, say, for instance, at this list of 20 properties and deciding if there are some of those that are still relevant as far as county acquisition or easements, conservation easements of those areas. And so please think about whether there are people that you would know that have interest or expertise in those areas, and contact either myself or Phaeton. Let's see, I'm not sure how I get back to, yeah. Oh, thank you. The next item on the agenda is what's that? Yeah, no presentation. And I'm not sure we can decide anything. I had hoped that we would be able to address the next meeting that we were going to have, where that would be and what would be the mechanism for that meeting. If we are able to use Zoom, or if we would decide that we'd rather have only meetings without Zoom and in person, and also the location of that meeting, whether it would be in, again, here in the Hāmākua People's Theater. Suggestions have been brought up that we might wish to use the Lapahoehoe Library as perhaps a more central location for meetings. So I'm not sure we can actually. Right, I'm afraid that because we don't have a quorum, we really can't make a decision about that. So that's, I'll make communication. What's that? Are there agenda items that the public wishes?
On the
Are there questions or comments in regards to the presentation on the PONC committee or proposal? And first of all, I don't think that a proposal has actually been made. I think what, yeah, right. I think Phaeton was merely wishing to express the desire that the members of the committee would contribute names of persons that might have a special interest in access and trails and open space. So unless there's,
Ron,
yes,
this is Brad. One of the pretty important criteria for the PONC nominations is a willing owner, an owner of parcel that is willing to sell. And so, that would probably be a good start, because if they're not, then it doesn't, nothing moves forward. So I just wanted to kind of point that out.
yes, no, that's of course a very important comment. In speaking with Blake McNaughton, who has had, who was leading the efforts at purchase of 2 properties in the Pepekeo area, Blake will be presenting to the committee next month. And so he'll be here and he'll tell us about his experience in, first of all, he's optimistic about one of those properties, and the other property, that exactly is the problem.
Yeah.
The people who have control have less interest in selling that. Also, the current chair of the PONC Commission has expressed interest in presenting to our action committee. So she will be coming at some point. Yeah. So I believe that that covers everything that we can cover. One other thing is that there is a committee that is representing the Hāmākua Business Association, who will be presenting next month also on a proposal for a public restroom on Mamani Street. So we have those two items that will be presented next month. And if there are any other suggestions for agenda items, be happy to hear that. And if not, we will proceed to adjournment. We don't even need an emotion for adjournment. So this meeting is in fact adjourned, as it never began.
Thank you, everybody. for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
Why we need more members.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.